Music plays in the streets of Iraq's Baghdad as fireworks light up the night sky. That was as supporters of Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani celebrated his coalition winning a second term in Iraq's parliamentary election on Wednesday. Sudani's coalition received 1.317 million votes in Tuesday's election, according to the Independent High Electoral Commission. Reuters earlier reported that Sudani placed first, citing two Electoral Commission officials with knowledge of the results.
This is clear evidence of another success, the restoration of trust in the political system. It shows that Iraqis have chosen the path of reform and reconstruction outlined in the executive program of their government.
After his victory, Sudani said that his coalition will consider the interests of all Iraqi voters and citizens, including those who boycotted the elections. Many disillusioned young Iraqis said they saw the vote simply as a vehicle for established parties to divide Iraq's oil wealth and had claimed ahead of the vote that they would boycott the elections. Sudani tried to cast himself as the leader who could make Iraq a success after years of instability, saying he had moved against established parties that brought him to power. No party can form a government on its own in Iraq's 329-member legislature, so parties build alliances with other groups to become an administration, a process that can often take months. The final total turnout in Iraq's parliamentary election reached 56.11%, the Electoral Commission said on Wednesday.
They actually changed my January 6th speech.
President Trump is threatening to sue the BBC for at least $1 billion, claiming a documentary deceptively edited his January 6th speech. He says the October 2024 BBC Panorama episode made it look like he incited the Capitol riot, and now wants the BBC to retract the episode or face legal action.
Well, I think I have an obligation to do it because you can't allow people to do that.
Here is what's interesting. Trump plans to sue in Florida, not the UK. Why? Well, because the UK law requires defamation cases to be filed within a year of a statesman's publication. And that's already passed. The US also offers the potential for much bigger damages. Last year, he sued CBS in a case which settled for $16 million. The case may hinge on whether people were able to watch the documentary in Florida and if they felt misled. While the documentary wasn't aired in the US, it was available online. To win, Trump's lawyers must prove the documentary was false, defamatory, or that the defendant recklessly disregarded the truth. But the BBC has strong defenses. US free speech protections are robust, and they can argue the documentary is substantially true. Florida law also allows dismissal of defamation lawsuits that have no merit. If Trump pursues the $1 billion claim, it's seen as a starting point for negotiations. The final amount, if any, would be decided by a judge or a jury.
Britain's economy barely expanded in the third quarter. Official data released Thursday showed it was hit by September's cyber attack on Jaguar Land Rover. The economy grew 0.1% in the third quarter of the year, down from Q2's 0.3% growth and also just below analyst forecasts. The data from Britain's Office of National Statistics cited a report by a motor industry trade body of the JLR cyber incident. The automaker has 3 factories in the country, which together produce about 1,000 cars per day. One cybersecurity body said the hack cost the British economy an estimated $2.55 billion and affected more than 5,000 organisations. A fall in commercial vehicle production in September added to the sector's troubles. Wednesday's data reported a near 29% collapse in the production of motor vehicles in September. It's the largest drop in 5.5 years since the start of the pandemic and hit overall gross domestic product. The data shows the challenges faced by Finance Minister Rachel Reeves as she prepares to release her new budget later this month amid slow growth. One leading trade body said the persistent slow growth could lead to a large fiscal shortfall and a need for tax rises. Looking ahead, investors ramped up bets the Bank of England will cut interest rates next month. The central bank expects the economy to rebound in the fourth quarter with a 0.3% expansion.
Wizz Air's shares surged as much as 16% in morning trade on Thursday after the airline reported a strong first-half operating profit. but it also forecast a low single-digit decline in full-year revenue and said winter capacity was a short-term challenge. First-half operating profit jumped more than a quarter to $512 million and beating analyst expectations. Investors were in buying mood as market watchers saw the airline's new approach as the right move. That as the carrier looks to carry out an ambitious turnaround plan. European airlines have largely had a mixed quarter, despite cost savings tied to lower fuel costs. Wizz has struggled in recent years to recover its earnings after a run of disappointing quarters. It's largely blamed its struggles on external challenges, including an issue with Pratt & Whitney engines and geopolitical challenges in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Wizz Air shares have fallen 39% in the last 6 months. From Egypt to Kazakhstan, the foreign assets of Russian oil major Lukoil are attracting potential bidders. That's as time runs out to clear deals before US authorities enforce sanctions. The US has sanctioned Lukoil as part of its efforts to bring the Kremlin to peace talks over Ukraine, and has already blocked Lukoil's attempt to sell foreign assets to trader Gunvor ahead of the November 21st deadline. According to sources, Lukoil has filed for an extension to the US Treasury's deadline. The sanctions have already disrupted its operations in Iraq, at pump stations in Finland and a refinery in Bulgaria. Governments and partners are hoping to snap up its foreign assets on the cheap. Lukoil didn't reply to requests for comment. A state firm in Kazakhstan is reportedly studying a bid for Lukoil's assets in the country, according to 2 sources familiar with the matter. And another 2 sources said that Shell is interested in its deep water blocks in Ghana and Nigeria. Shell declined to comment. A 5th source told Reuters that in Egypt, Lukoil has indicated to the government its possible plans to sell out. The country's petroleum ministry didn't respond to a request for comment. Analysts say Lukoil faces difficult choices. One told Reuters that if the company sells its assets, the proceeds could be frozen by the US Treasury. But they added delaying action could mean state takeovers of some assets or their freezing.
In the Peruvian Amazon, black droplets bubble up in stagnant water next to a rusty pipeline. Uarina leader Wilmer Macusi said it's oil from past spills, and that it still seeps into the backwaters near his Santa Rosa village.
Nos han dicho que todo ya está limpio. Y entonces ahí por abajo, ahí, esta es la segunda, otro derrame, ¿no? Como eso sería 2 derrames que había en esta zona.
These plastic barriers are supposed to stop a spill. Instead, they are drooping ineffectively. Now, oil companies looking for a revival in the north of the country are asking if Amazon communities here can skip over a seemingly harmful past to reboot the multi-billion-dollar oil industry. But indigenous people claim oil extraction brings pollution, not progress. This region once pumped more than half the country's oil, peaking at about 200,000 barrels a day back in the 80s. Though community opposition and the cost of cleanup drove oil production much lower after 2020. And key extraction blocks, plots of land where oil can be extracted, went dormant. But now, state oil firm Peru wants many of them active again. Macusi's community, where children play freely among nature, sits here, and close to it is a pipeline built in the 1970s, blamed for repeated spills. It connects a nearby oil field with the leaky, aging North Peruvian pipeline. Macusi says 2 years after the last rupture, crops still fail and fish have vanished. Others see the Amazon in a different light. Jorge Rivera spoke to Reuters with a picture behind him of his father, one of Peru's first Amazon oil drillers. Rivera is betting that his small company, Upland Oil and Gas, will succeed in its contract with Peru to restart production on a long paralyzed extraction block. That's without repeating the industry's polluted past and while helping indigenous peoples.
Con nosotros, ellos se iban a beneficiar directamente porque nosotros traíamos una estrategia de crearles un trabajo adicional y crearles un ingreso continuo, ¿okay?, durante las actividades de extracción.
But mistrust runs deep. Many studies over decades have found that animals and indigenous people living near Peru's oil fields have raised levels of lead, mercury, cadmium, and arsenic. In a small Santa Rosa clinic, health technician Yvette Maldonado said she sees the impact from oil spills firsthand.
Cuando ha habido este derrame de petróleo, el agua se contamina de aceite y esa agua del río consume la comunidad aquí y mayormente por esa agua contaminada que ellos consumen les da diarrea. Bastante diarrea.
Petroperu insists the pipeline is reliable and says oil spill damage is temporary and reversible. It blames many recent spills on deliberate attacks, which have become a source of illicit income in poor river towns. And Rivera's company Upland is continuing to drill while offering indigenous residents jobs, training rapid response spill teams, and setting up a community-run fund from oil sales. But as of last month, community leaders say they have yet to see that money. And they want a proper cleanup from past spills before they entertain the idea of more drilling.
At an underground bar in Tokyo, women in sportswear flaunt their chiseled frames as they crush fruit and flex their muscles in front of their patrons. Fitness-themed bar Muscle Girls is exclusively staffed by women and challenges Japan's conventional concept of feminine beauty. The bar, which opened in 2020, has gone viral, drawing about 100 customers a day, mostly foreign tourists. 38-year-old Hitomi Harigai, known as Harry, manages the bar.
In Japan, people generally think that women with small breasts, a slender back, and skinny legs are attractive. But the customers who come here to Muscle Girls prefer thicker arms and legs. I still remember how my self-esteem skyrocketed when I realized deep down that it was okay to be just how I am now.
For around $40, guests can enjoy an 80-minute experience with drinks, protein shakes, and a show of pure power. Customers can also pay for extras, such as being slapped hard across the face or hoisted up by the thighs. But growing up, Harry faced criticism for her physique.
The boys at middle school and high school told me, "Your legs are fat." They said it as an insult. "Your legs are fat. You don't fit in your skirt."
Harry says she thinks Japanese society's prevailing view of what makes women beautiful is a kind of mind control that harms young women and girls.
But I think that's something every Japanese girl goes through in her teens. They look at magazines and social media and think, "I'm fatter than her. I'm no good." It's a lot. This idea that skinny is beautiful, it's a curse.
Japan has the highest proportion of underweight adult women among developed nations, at about 9%. It's nearly 5 times more than in the United States and Germany, based on body mass index. That's according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This year, a Japanese committee of doctors and academics studying obesity warned that the convention of equating thinness with beauty was causing malnutrition and other health issues in the country. But Harry and the Muscle Girls are now defying norms and reclaiming what it means to be beautiful.
Just the fact that we do weight training already sets us apart from regular Japanese women. It's a community where people who are a little unconventional can gather. I think so. And I think the others think so too. The bar is a place we all cherish.
Iran is grappling with its worst water crisis in decades, with officials warning that Tehran, a city of more than 10 million people, may soon be uninhabitable if the drought continues. President Masoud Pezeshkian cautioned that if rainfall does not arrive by December, the government must start rationing water in Tehran, and even then, citizens may still need to evacuate the city. But Iran's water crisis is not solely the result of low rainfall. Decades of mismanagement, including overbuilding of dams, illegal well drilling, and inefficient agricultural practices have depleted reserves. That's according to dozens of critics and water experts who spoke to state media in recent days. The mismanagement sparked protests over water shortages in both 2018 and 2021. The government has blamed the crisis on various factors such as the policies of past governments, climate change, and overconsumption. The water shortage is straining citizens already struggling under the weight of a crippled economy.
If the government had the capability, it wouldn't have let things reach this point. You know, they shouldn't have allowed it to come to this. What is the government supposed to do? It's the same managers. What do they expect them to do? They don't even make use of experts.
State media said that Iran's National Water and Wastewater Company has dismissed reports of formal rationing in Tehran, but confirmed that nightly water pressure reductions were being applied and could drop to zero in some districts. The public has been urged to install storage tanks, pumps, and other devices to avoid major disruption. The capital depends entirely on 5 reservoirs fed from rivers outside the city, but experts say they are only half full and could run dry within 2 weeks at current consumption levels. The crisis extends far beyond Tehran. Nationwide, 19 major dams, roughly 10% of Iran's total, have effectively run dry. In Mashhad, Iran's second-largest city, with a population of 4 million, water reserves have plunged below 3%.
These discarded cow horns are destined to become a very different kind of headgear. Ugandan startup Wazi Vision is converting the slaughterhouse waste product into eco-friendly and affordable glasses frames. At a workshop in Kampala, horn technician Okumu John is sorting through their latest haul.
Cow horn material is so good and very unique because it's something that you cannot easily break. It is something that keeps on twisting, and you can always play with cow horn to any angle you want.
The social enterprise was founded by Brenda Katwasije, based on personal experience. Having discovered how expensive eye tests were, even with insurance, she realised that low-income earners would struggle to access affordable eye care. Her solution, says Wazi Vision's managing director Grace Kansime, was to use an abundant resource.
Many Ugandans consume beef on a daily basis, so there's a lot of cow horn waste around us. So after realizing that many people use it for bangles, earrings, coasters and all that, we decided to get cow horn and transform it into eye frames.
Kansime says sourcing the horns can prove difficult because abattoirs prioritise bulk buyers over artisan crafters. What they do get is processed and flattened before being crafted using computer-aided design and programmable machines. The resulting custom frames retail at between $9 and $20.